Hello again, classy people, this is Josh for Top Hat Gamer, and this week I'm reviewing Gat Out of Hell, the standalone expansion to Saints Row 4. Is Gat Out of Hell worth its $20 entry fee on its own? And how does the bundled package of Saints Row 4 Re-elected and Gat Out of Hell hold up? Set as an epilogue to Saints Row 4, Gat Out of Hell begins as the Saints throw a surprise party for Kinzie. After bringing out an old Ouija board, the Saints unwittingly contact Satan, who kidnaps the boss in order for them to marry his daughter Jezebel. With the boss sucked into hell, it's up to Johnny Gat and Kinzie Kensington to save their leader and friend. The plot is crazy to say the least, and does a decent job of following up on Saints Row 4's already fantastic spacefaring plot. Much like Saints Row 4, Gat Out of Hell provides plenty of opportunities to make reference to the Saints' history, with character cameos from Saints Row 2's Dane Vogel and Saints Row III's De Winter Sisters. Unfortunately, the game does little more than point at these characters and say, hey, remember them? Its short length doesn't really afford the time to explore the interesting characters you'll meet either. You basically save your new allies from their respective turmoil, learn a power off of them, and then do some side missions for them. The playground that is Hell is pretty standard visually, with lakes of lava and crumbling apocalyptic cityscapes littering the world. It's not without some more interesting details such as petrified titans and skeletons of giant beasts, but after a while it all seems to blend together in a blur of red and grey. The soundtrack is mostly slow, generic metal, though you'd be forgiven if you didn't notice due to the constant gunfire, screaming and explosions that comes with the territory of Saints Row game. I don't even think there's radio music in vehicles that you can drive, which would be an issue if you drove for more than one mission in the game. While the soundtrack is lacking, the voice acting is enjoyable and features a couple of cool cameos. Jay Moore's reprisal of his role as the always sardonic Dane Vogel is probably the most enjoyable performance, if only because he narrates most of the tutorials within the game. As always, the game's writing is drenched in the series' trademark insanity, and even goes musical for a cutscene or two.
Burn down a city that's baptized in fire. How do I kill off an army that's dead? Time's slipping away now, and the best plan we've got is just put one inside Satan's head.
A lot of the story is presented through narrated storybook images that transition into standard cutscenes. These cutscenes are where the majority of the game's sense of humor shines through, and it's a shame that there just aren't many to speak of.
I'm gonna shoot the devil in the face.
I think you might be skipping some details.
No, I said in the face.
The gameplay is understandably similar to Saints Row 4. Instead of superpowers, you get access to a suite of angelic magic and the power of flight. In all honesty, the flight power is far more enjoyable than the super jump glide combo that was presented in the base game. At the beginning of the game, you're given a limited flight distance, but by the end, you're able to clear the map in no time at all. The flight mechanics themselves work well and provide just enough limitations to make it somewhat challenging. You aren't able to climb indefinitely, and once your momentum slows, you'll drop. Instead, you're given a limited number of flaps to maintain some speed, which forces you to think about where and when you'll use them. So, who needs to drive a car when you can fly? In fairness, there are some cool vehicles, but not enough to justify using them over soaring through the sky with your angel wings. The powers you're given access to are, for the most part, pulled straight from the base game. You have your blasts, stomps, and aura abilities, but the summon ability is brand new. Also new is the way that you unlock variations on these abilities. By finding altars and activating them, you're given new versions of your powers. It's not a bad system, and I find it feels more rewarding than just having them unlocked like in Saints Row 4. As with Saints Row 4, you have a variety of guns to play with, and while you are able to upgrade them, the inability to visually customize them thoroughly is disappointing. Because you're playing as Kinzie or Gat for the duration, you're actually unable to customize anything. It's really disappointing. If you're lucky, unlike I was, the most you'll get is your personal Saints Row 4 character appearing in a couple of cutscenes. With that being said, there are some weapons that are based off of the 7 deadly sins, and those are actually pretty cool. Much like the base game, the split between story-specific missions and activity-based missions unfortunately leans too far on the activity side. All of these activities are available to you in the overworld, and the so-called loyalty missions just groups them together. Aside from these, there are only 3 or 4 actual story missions, and they're the most fun ones in the game. To its credit, Gat Out of Hell does have some fun side activities on offer. Your standard insurance fraud and rampage activities make a return, but the new race mode and salvation games make good use of the flight ability, and are some of the more enjoyable moments in the game. Races are exactly what they sound like as you fly through checkpoints in a set amount of time. Salvation, however, forces you to save tormented souls as they fall to the ground or float towards portals in the sky. They're fun and they utilize the best gameplay mechanic on offer. As a standalone expansion, Gat Out of Hell is enjoyable and offers a good amount of content for the price of entry. However, whether or not you enjoy the side activities in previous games will dictate how enjoyable the experience will be. I personally wish there was more narrative-driven content here, but for $20, Gat Out of Hell provides at least a few hours of game time. Gat Out of Hell gets the Top Hat Gamer rating of good. For the asking price, you're given a new map with a handful of interesting and fun weapons on top of the already enjoyable superpower-fueled gameplay of the base game. The flight power is the most notable and fun difference between this and Saints Row 4, and Gat Out of Hell utilizes it fairly well. With that in mind, the bundle of Saints Row 4 Re-elected and Gat Out of Hell is a good time overall. It's a large amount of content, and despite both having a serious lack of narrative-driven missions, the base gameplay is still extremely enjoyable. After 2 years, 2 DLC packs and a standalone expansion, I think Saints Row 4 is finally worth its full retail price. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the review informative and stuff. If you missed the last one on Saints Row 4 Re-elected, click the annotation to watch it now. And maybe think about subscribing, maybe? I don't know. I'm not your boss.